You think equality means splitting the bill. Women live in a society where equality has never existed in the first place. Women still only make 80% of what a man makes for the same full-time job. So when you ask for a 50-50 date, know that her 50% costs more of her income than it does yours. Second of all, women pay more just to exist in the dating world. About $400.
Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode on the channel. Today we're going to be reacting to the GOAT himself, Atozi, once again. And in this video, we're going to be watching how apparently a TikToker faked being a billionaire and got rich of it. So yeah, man. As the usual, right? The link is in the description to go follow him, leave him a comment, drop a like on his video. But yeah, man, without being said, let's just get straight in, right? Okay. Let's start. Let's go.
Billionaire for TikTok videos. And honestly, this TikToker got rich from faking to be a billionaire for TikTok videos. And honestly, it is just such an interesting example of how, yet again, things are not always as they seem like they are on social media. But this so-called billionaire and queen of rich talk, which I guess is the TikTok term for a bunch of rich girls sitting there and yapping while unboxing, you know, like $50,000 purses and so on and so on. But she got so much backlash from a couple of tone-deaf TikToks that she accidentally got her family's past brought up and aired out for the whole world. Because a lot of people are questioning, where did all this money come from? And a lot of people are speculating that it came from some questionable business dealings. But at one point, she was hailed as one of the few rich girls who rich is right, whatever that means. But she's now under fire for being, well, painfully out of touch. I don't know like what people expected though, but she feeds her cat caviar for breakfast. So the fact that
damn, oh my god, bro, damn. Oh yo, that cat is living good. I ain't gonna lie, man. But yeah, honestly, this is a problem with social media, right? A lot of people pretend to be something that they're not, and young people in particular, they look at these things and they take it as being real, right? They look, oh my god, I want to be just like her, and then they kind of fall down and they start to self-doubt because they can't achieve what this person achieved, or achieved in quotation marks, right?
people thought that she wasn't out of touch to begin with just doesn't make sense whatsoever to me. But hey, here we are. But nowadays, you can argue that most people are kind of over content creators, like, you know, flaunting their excessive wealth online, because at this point, excessive flexing material things is just so overdone. Like in the last couple of years, it seems like so many influencers suddenly have leased a supercar and they out of nowhere have a course to sell you. But despite this sort of content,
yeah, 100%, man. But yeah, no, the flexer era is dead. You know, like the 2017, like to I would say maybe like 2019, when everybody was flexing how rich they are. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I'm a YouTuber and I got like Lamborghinis and like mansions and like, you know, all the girls I want in the world. Like, yeah, that era is kind of done. Now people look at it and they're more like, yeah, that's cringe, you know what I mean? Like people back in the day used to take that, like, take it seriously. Nowadays people just don't care about it, you know what I mean? They're just like, yeah, that is just cringe, man. Like you should probably stop with that, you know what I mean? But yeah, let's go.
And being pretty tacky, Becca Bloom avoided a lot of that usual criticism and was instead admired and adored by literally millions of people on TikTok. Yeah, 5.3 million people to be exact. I guess you can kind of say that her content to girls on TikTok is kind of like what Rice Gum was to Hypebeast back in like 2016. I mean, one of her earliest videos is a bunch of Hermes boxes piled up in the back of a Cybertruck. Like, tell me that doesn't sound like a modern version of some clout house bit from years ago. But everything started to shift when she decided to post a hot take. And that had a lot of her followers feeling rubbed the wrong way. And it makes sense.
It's kind of how it always goes, right?
About equality. You think equality means splitting the bill. Women live in a society where equality has never existed in the first place. Women still only make 80% of what a man makes for the same full-time job. So when you ask for a 50-50 date, know that her 50% costs more of her income than it does yours. Second of all, women pay more just to exist in the dating world, about $400 a month just on grooming and beauty. And that's not because they want to spend more, it's because they're held to the beauty standards that men built and judge them by. Not only that, women carry safety risks too. They are 2 to 3 times times more likely to experience violence from a date. Men love to talk about equality, but not the part where you have to send your locations to your friends and carry safety weapons in your purse just to go to dinner with you. Here's the irony. Men only remember the word equality when it benefits them financially. Not when it comes to wages, not when it comes to safety, not when it comes to emotional workload, not when it comes to the cost of beauty, not when it comes to the social scrutiny women face on a daily basis. But suddenly you want equality when the bill hits the table. Equality isn't identical treatment. Equality is balanced responsibility. And until society becomes statistically equal, you cannot cherry pick equality only in moments where it allows you to contribute less. So yes, my husband pays all the bills, and yes, I think that's the bare minimum.
I feel like
Well, hold on a second, because yeah, sure, women are more likely to, have like weirdos and stuff like that, right? That's completely fair. Now, to say that women they already pay more because they have to pay for makeup and for stuff like that, that's not. I mean, sure, yeah, okay, whatever. Let's give you the point that yeah, a lot of men, kind of ask for this, but even though it's not true, like nobody's forcing you. Nobody has, is forcing you to go to the store and get that makeup. Like, go get that makeup right now, right now. Like nobody's, I mean, you don't have to, right? And just because you do it, that doesn't mean that. Oh, but I bought the makeup and look, I have makeup now, so like I already pay for for a lot of stuff. Like you pay for the bill. No, man, and like equality. Well, number one, women are the ones that used to shout, and continue to shout about equality the most, right? They're like the ones that are like, oh, we want equality, we want this and that, like, but then when it comes to it, and when people say, okay, well, you want to be equal, why don't you go work in a warehouse, for example? Oh, well, a woman can't do that, like, that's a man's job. Well, you want equality, right? Like, we have to work, why don't you go to work? Well, no, because a man is supposed to provide for the family. A man is the one that's supposed to pay all the bills, and like, I'm sorry, but if I'm going, I said this before, right? Like, if I go on a date, whatever, first date, I'll cover it, especially if I'm the one that asked you out in the first place, I'll cover it, whatever. But I'm not gonna be here and always just cover up every single day. Like, oh, we go on a date, I'm the one that pays for everything. You know what I mean? Like, you can at least do 50-50. Doing 50-50 is fine. No one said, okay, whatever, I pay for a first date, but then on the second day we do 50-50, right? Or alternatively, I pay for the first date, you pay for the second, I pay for the third, and so on, right? Like, one time I pay, then you pay, then I pay, and you pay. You know what I mean? Like, that's not that crazy. Like, and it is what? Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. Now, to say that because you have to carry stuff, right? Like, you need to carry something to keep yourself protected, right? That ultimately means that men pick and choose when equality is applied. Well, no one says that it's a good thing that you have to do this in the first place, right? Like, no one says, oh man, like, you have to carry this. Like, obviously you should, right? And you should stay safe. And obviously the people that do, messed up things and like are weirdos like that, like, they should be banished from society, right? They should be put in prison or mental asylums or something like that, get taken off the street, right? Like they should not be in society. That's obviously not a good thing. No one's saying it's a good thing. Men are not out there to be like, yeah, it's a good thing that they have to struggle like that. No one says that, right? And let's go back and let me see. Let's hear some of the points again, just to make sure I give
to
them
emotional
clear.
workload, not when it comes to wages. Here's the irony. Men only remember the word equality when it benefits them financially. Not when it comes to wages, not when it comes to safety, not when it comes to emotional workload, not when it comes to the cost of beauty, not when it comes to the social scrutiny women face on a daily basis.
Well, the cost of beauty, that's a you cost. Like, you choose to be like this. Like, I know plenty of women that don't waste their money on makeup. Maybe they're not the 10 out of 10s that you see on Instagram, they're the more realistic, like 6 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10, that you see in real life. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, no one says you have to go and waste money on this crap. Like, and in fact, a lot of the times, if you waste money on this kind of crap, like, having a lot of makeup like she has, for example, right? And all of this, that goes to show that you're insecure in yourself. No one says like, oh, you should never take care of your eyebrows, or maybe get rid of those pimples on your face. No one says that. But like, to go and spend hundreds of dollars on makeup like every month, and every day you have so much makeup that you don't look like you naturally do anymore, that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing, right? Like that's a bad thing. And further, like I say, it just shows that you're insecure in yourself. Like you can't look at yourself in the mirror and be happy with who you are, like on, you know, in terms of like how you look, right? And now, sure, yes, it's true that, you know, wages, you know, it's not necessarily a good thing that wages are different, right? Because it's like, yeah, obviously, ideally, everybody should be paid the same. But the reality is that men have to do certain jobs that deserve a higher pay, you know, a higher wage, due to the fact that, if you know, maybe they put their lives at risk. Like, for example, you know, would you go to someone who's working in the mines, right, like, and be like, oh, I deserve to have the same wage as you, and I work in HR, you know? No, you wouldn't do that, because that would be silly, right? Like, he's out there in a mine, like risking his life every day, and you're just sitting here in an office, you know, just typing on your keyboard all day. You know what I mean? Like, it also depends on what kind of job you do. If we're talking about the same job, then sure, I can agree that, you know, wages should be the same. Like, if you know, if a man and a woman work in HR, and say the woman gets paid $9 an hour and the man gets paid $12 an hour, then I agree that the woman should be paid $12 an hour as well. But you see what I mean? Like, it's very close minded. Like, you just picking and choosing how you want to apply this, you know. Ironically, in the way that you say, men are picking and choosing how they want to use the word equality, right? Or when it's convenient to say, or ask for equality, right? Like, you see what I mean? Like, you gotta understand that what you're doing, it's exactly what you're blaming men for doing, you know. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. This is a silly video. Like, this is definitely not a good take, you know. Don't get me wrong, she has some points where she's right about things, and for those, yes, she is right. But most of it is just a silly video that doesn't really make sense, that is not really correct at all.
But suddenly you want equality when the bill hits the table. Equality isn't identical treatment. Equality is balanced responsibility. And until society becomes statistically equal, you cannot cherry pick equality only in moments where it allows you to contribute less. So yes, my husband pays all the bills, and yes, I think that's the bare minimum.
I feel like that final sentence is what really makes everything so out of touch.
Yeah, like, what do you mean, like, that's the bare minimum? I mean, yeah, sure. Generally, men are, you know, are the ones that have, sorry bro, I didn't mean to do you like that. Like, yeah, generally men are the ones that pay, you know, that pay the bills, right, and keep the roof over your head, right? What do you mean that's the bare minimum? Like, I don't know, you know, there could be situations where a man, for example, I don't know, he can't work, so now the woman has to keep the house up. Is that unfair for the woman? Or what's going on, you know? Or what do you mean, like, it's the bare minimum? What? And if you say it's the bare minimum, then at least elaborate. Okay, if this is the bare minimum he can do, right, by paying the bills, what do you do? What do you bring to the table? Okay, we know that he, you know, he brings to the table the fact that he has to pay all the bills, right? He covers the house bills and everything, right? What do you bring to the table? What do you bring in his life? Like, what? How are you contributing to this? Because just how you say, oh yeah, my man, it pays all the bills, so that's the bare minimum he can do. Okay, what is his bare minimum for you? Like, what is the bare minimum that you have to do as well then? I don't know. Like, you see, like, you're throwing out this idea, but you're only throwing it in a slanted view, right? Like, you only care about you, but not him. Like, why don't you bring him to the conversation, or at least bring him to the video, and he can give his own take on this? Like, what, you know, give his own ideas. Like, oh, maybe, you know, he'll be like, yeah, I pay all the bills, but for example, she has to keep the house clean. Like, that's, you know, a bare minimum, and make sure that there's food on the table when I come home.
I feel like that final sentence is what really makes everything so out of touch. And that's the bare minimum. Like, come on. If she ended it with, like, and I'm so incredibly grateful for him.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I feel like it would just come across pretty differently. That would have at least changed part of the feel of the video, because that's a massive privilege to be able to have your dude cover everything for you.
Oh yeah,
Inherently,
100%.
I feel like most men want to provide for their family. But with how devalued our currency has become over the last 50 years, assets and goods of cost have skyrocketed at a faster pace than wages. So
No, 100%. He is right about this, right? Like, obviously, men want to be the providers, right? Like, we've talked about this, I believe, in a previous video, right? Yeah, actually, yeah. In the one, if I recall correctly, in the one where we talked about what women read, right? And I said, like, yeah, obviously, the ultimate goal for men is to be able to provide, but at the same time, you know, there's this other thing where not all men can afford to do that, right? Like, as much as they want to, not all of them can afford to do that, right? Wouldn't that be because of, you know, they have a bad job and they struggle to find a better one, you know what I mean? Or whatever circumstances might be, right? They might have some disability and they can't work or whatever, right? Or it limits on what they can do in life, right? Like, or other people are just straight up not able to do too much in life, right? It's just how it goes. Like, you know, and this applies to men and women. Like, you know, I'm so grateful that he's able to pay all the bills and cover all that. It would have definitely softened the blow, and I feel like a lot more people would have been like, yeah, you're kind of off the rail, but you know, I can see what you're saying, you know. Whereas, like, that's the bare minimum that you can do. That will anger a lot of people, especially people that are in positions where they can't afford to do that. Like, they can't afford to just take care of everything. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely it's important the way that you phrase it, right, and the way that you say it.
assets and goods of cost have skyrocketed at a faster
Yeah,
pace
exactly.
than
Like, everything is been getting more expensive while the salary has been staying the same or changing by, you know, $1 or two, and everything else has been changing by, you know, the price have been increasing by $4 or $5. You know, it's still hard to afford things. You know, isn't there, like, in America, for example, isn't there like the average homeowner age now is like somewhere in like 40s or like early 50s? Like, it's wild.
wages. So many jobs in the 1970s could support an entire family with a stay-at-home mom. But right now, unfortunately, that doesn't really happen anymore to the same degree. So most households need to have two people working to be able to afford to live in the city, especially a major American city in the Northeast or West Coast. And don't even get me started about the major cities in Canada, because those are even more unaffordable somehow. And it's like that around the world. So overall, her statement just comes across as so tone deaf, especially when she's making content like this. Like, come on. And everyone knows how the internet goes. Like, once you start getting a little bit of backlash, unfortunately, people start, you know, scouring the web for any information they can get about you. And it's safe to say that people found some things.
Hold on. Yeah, first time buyers, like, median age is 40 years old. Like, that's for someone to buy their first house, right? Like, first time home buyer. Like, bro, 40 years old, like, not, you know, that's crazy. That's really bad. Like, if you think about, I'm 22, right? And if I'm thinking about, you know, my parents, right? Like, you know, most people, my you know, who are my parents' age, right? Most of them bought a house in their late 20s. They could afford a house in the late 20s, right? At least in Romania. Obviously, you know, it's different from country to country, right? But at least in Romania, most people could buy a house or own a house, you know, whether they'll buy it or they will go through, like, do a mortgage and, like, pay it off monthly, right? They could do that. Like, a lot of people can get a mortgage in their late 20s, you know, just by having a stable job, like, you know, a job where they know they won't get fired tomorrow. And now it's like 40, and that's like, you know, buyers, like, you know, I'm pretty sure I still, you know, can include like mortgage and stuff, but still, right, it's almost like doubled. So yeah, let's go. I'll
On her
look for
family
something
and where
as well.
potentially some of this money was from. But let's start from the beginning, because it wasn't even that long ago. It was like a year ago, because Becca Bloom's.
Okay, right, we're back. Let's see. So look, and here's to prove my point, right? Obviously, you know, take this with a grain of salt, like it's just a website, right? But here it says that in the 1990s, the average first-time home buyer was 28, right? And now it's 40. Well, 2025, like at some point in 2025, right? Oh, look here. Now it's around 38, right? So it's grew by 10 years in, like, you see what I mean? Like, shit is becoming a lot more expensive and people can't afford it, like, because salaries have not increased to keep up with the prices. But yeah, anyway, let's get back to the video. Let me close this down. Let's go.
Like, come on. And everyone knows how the
Oh,
in
what
the
happened?
1970s could support an entire family with a stay-at-home mom. But right now, unfortunately, that doesn't really happen anymore to the same degree. So most households need to have
Unfortunately,
two
yeah.
people working to be able to afford to live in the city. Especially
Yeah, and it's not even a bad thing that both people work, right? Like, especially if you're young, like if you're in your 20s, right? You and your partner both working and getting that paper stacked. It's not a bad thing. Like, I don't understand why society, and this is more of like a Western culture where women feel like nowadays, like, society has told women that they shouldn't work. Like, I mean, it's the man that's working and he has to provide, right? But it's like, it's nothing wrong with both of you working and getting that paper stack, because it's going to benefit both of you in the long run, right? Even if you decide to split, even if you decide like, oh, the relationship doesn't work out, we're going separate ways, bro, you got your paper stacked, like, it's not a bad thing. Like, just put in the work while you're young, and take benefit from your work when you're older. Like, I feel like that's how it should be everywhere. But apparently in Western society, it has become more of like the man always has to work, but the woman is just not always working. Like, she's the one that, she enjoys all the benefits and all the fruits of the man's labor, right? Like, it's not fair. And I know this is not everybody, obviously it's not everybody, but it's a scary percentage of women that think like this. You know what I mean? Like, and men also that think that, oh yeah, women shouldn't do anything. Like, I'm the one that's always working and she doesn't do anything. Well, what's the point then, bro? Just be alone. You'll be a lot happier. Well, you just have someone that you share a roof over your head with. That's not someone that you want to have around if all they do is just, you work for your money and then they just waste your money. Like, you know what I mean? But anyway, let's continue. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. It skipped forward, but yeah, anyway.
especially a major American city in the Northeast or West Coast, and don't even get me started about the major cities in Canada, because those are even more unaffordable somehow. And it's like that around the world. So overall, her statement just comes across as so tone deaf, especially when she's making content like this.
Yeah. Like, come on, you can carry at least one thing. Like, can you carry your stuffed animal at a bare minimum? Like, come on, man, look, he's got the dog, he's got the bags, he's got everything. Like, help him out. Like, do something. You can't just be here as his shadow, because then he's better off alone. Like, what?
Like, come on. And everyone knows how the internet goes. Like, once you start getting a little bit of backlash, unfortunately, people start, scouring the web for any information they can get about you. And it's safe to say that people have found some things on her family and where potentially some of this money was from. But let's start from the beginning, because it wasn't even that long ago. It was
Okay.
like a year ago, because Becca Bloom's first post was literally 1 year ago, meaning she amassed millions of followers in less than a year, which is insane. And I guess her meteoric rise and fall has been set against the backdrop of, $1,000 hauls, flights on private jets, and levels of wealth that most people can really only witness on TikTok. She's essentially just famous for blowing stupid amounts of money. So honestly, someone like this saying something out of touch is kind of like, oh wow, fork found in kitchen. It shouldn't really come as a surprise.
Oh no, it doesn't come as a surprise, but that doesn't make it right? Like, that's my point. I it's not like I'm shocked, like, oh my god, how can she say something like this? Like, no, bro, of course she's out of touch, because she's in a different lane, for better or for worse, right? Compared to the rest or not the rest, but most of the world, right? Like,
Oh wow, fork found in kitchen. It shouldn't really come as a surprise. She never apologized for being extravagant. Not that you should, but she seemed to definitely take some pride into it. But at least, instead of trying to sell people on the whole, oh, you can do it too, buy my course, she simply just let people have a peek into what normally would be completely unavailable for the average person. Honestly, I feel like the bar is set pretty low when I'm like, hey, at least she didn't have a get-rich-quick course. But one of her most viral videos is, I guess, her just buying a brand new MacBook because she wanted a case, but the case that she liked didn't fit her current MacBook, so she just bought a brand new MacBook so it could fit the case.
Okay, please don't judge me for this, but I fell in love with a laptop case, but they don't make it in my 15-inch size. It's only in 14-inch. So I decided to buy a new laptop today to fit that laptop case because it was just so pretty. I promise I'm not normally this extra.
You know, something that most
Here's the thing. When you have to tell people, hey guys, listen, I'm not normally like this. That's a clear sign that you normally are like that. Like, you know what I mean? A cool kid doesn't have to go to everyone and be like, hey, I'm a cool kid, you know what I mean? I'm just a cool kid. Like, you know, when you do stuff like that, you just show that, you know, you're the complete opposite. It's just like, okay, yeah, okay, so we know you're not cool. We know that nobody likes you know? When you have to tell people that you are cool or whatever, right? And when you tell people like, hey guys, I'm not extra, you are always extra then. You know, it's just how, you know, it's a formula that has been proven over and over again, you know? People that do stuff like this is obviously to make themselves look better than they actually are.
people would never think of doing. Because like a lot of her videos, you would think.
Also, why would you buy like a new laptop just to fit the case when you could see what I mean? Like, look, this is not even like financially smart, right? One, whatever, bro, you can find other cool cases, right, for your laptop, so there's no need to change it, right? But say you want that case no matter what, it would actually be financially smarter to have someone custom make that case for your current laptop than to go and buy a new laptop, because one, it will be cheaper, right? And two, you know, you could also support someone that maybe, you know, is trying to make a living as well, right? You know, be more considerate. But, you know, ultimately it's cheaper to have a case be custom made than to buy a whole new computer for that case. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just rich people logic. It's like, oh, whatever, I got the money, just buy a new one. Like, you know,
are parody, and then you're like, oh no, she's just really just that out of touch with reality. But then in other videos, she would do crazy stuff like arrange her cat's food and obviously drizzle them with caviar and so on and so on.
Plate my cat's breakfast with me. Oscar and I are actually eating from matching chargers this morning. Sushi grade salmon sashimi. Our chef also made Oscar this tuna bone broth blend, soft boiled quail eggs. We have some salmon roe caviar for seasoning.
Apparently her kitties are eating better than most people in the world. And
I know, right? Like, bro, oh my god, you have no idea how much people will like, they will do anything to be able to eat like their cats are eating. Like, holy god, bro, like, damn.
Comments calling her out for how ridiculous this display of wealth was, but the overwhelming majority of viewers just really ate it up. So she shared her relationship, days of her life, outlandish hauls, wedding prep, and the occasional educational video about whatever topic was hot that day. But I feel like this is just a big reminder of, you know, just because someone has
what is that, bro?
Whatever topic was hot that day. But I feel like this is just a big reminder of, you know,
that looks awful. I'm sorry. Yes, whatever. I know it's made for women, but that looks awful, bro. Why would you waste your money on something like that? That looks awful, Brand. Right. Listen, this is awful, right? And I'm not even the type of person to be against designer clothing. Some designer clothes can look good. This is not one of those, bro. Like, for real.
just because someone has money or followers doesn't necessarily mean that they are wise or that you should actually listen to them.
Oh yeah,
because unfortunately,
100%.
a lot of people look at
100%, and 9 times out of 10, it's actually unwise to listen to them, because a lot of them will just flaunt the fact that they can go out and buy a Lamborghini, you know, every single day. But that doesn't mean that that's a good thing, that's what you should do, right? Like, even if you have a lot of money, you know, it's not a smart decision to just waste it on cars or stuff that loses their value as soon as you click purchase. You know what I mean? Or as soon as you scan your card. Like, a smarter way would be to invest into properties, you know, buy houses, buy stuff like that,
these
right?
influencers as North Stars as to what rich people do and how they think. Because as easy it is to build a whole facade of being this like billionaire influencer, apparently it can unravel equally as quickly. Because I feel like even the people who weren't interested in her excessive spending, they just rolled their eyes and continued scrolling. But when Becca decided to get on her TikTok unprompted and make a self-righteous speech about equality, people started raising their eyebrows.
Equality isn't identical treatment.
Oh yeah,
Equality
seen
is
this
balanced
already, yeah.
responsibility. And until society becomes statistically equal, you cannot cherry pick equality only in moments where it allows you to contribute less.
It seems like with her whole argument, she's trying to lean into the whole divine feminine narrative that's honestly pretty popular nowadays because it's glamorized. And for so many people, it's unattainable. And obviously, like, to be fair, like her points about women being at more risk in terms of safety, I'm not here to argue about her opinions on dating or, I guess, the socio standards between men and women. I'm just covering what happened and how the internet reacted. Because it seems like the internet thought it was quite corny to get up on a soapbox and talk about equality when she exists on a financial class so far above the norm, it's hard to even imagine.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's the thing, and that's why people got mad at her, right? Like,
people were obviously quick to jump on her in the comments and remind her that even if she'd experienced inequality as a woman, that the level of wealth that she possessed has exempted her from a lot of that. Basically, a lot of people are like, why are you going on about this? I feel like people are like, we're here to see you unbox like 50 Hermes bags and feed your cat caviar we can't afford. Why are you trying to relate to us?
Yeah, like stop trying to be relatable to. That's the problem. A lot of rich people will say these things to appear relatable. You know, to be like, hey guys, look, it's just, you know, I'm just like you. I know the struggle. Like, don't get me wrong, I struggle a lot. Like, I feel you. I know you. When it's just obviously so fake, like, and you just embarrass yourself.
Comments were like, you should redistribute your wealth instead of doing this, which is also crazy. And this then resulted into people deep diving into her family and how exactly they made their fortune. Because Becca has apparently mentioned and shown her family in previous videos, but she's never really talked about what they do for a living and where the money's from.
I want to give my parents as much privacy as possible, but obviously they're extremely successful and they're both entrepreneurs working in tech and real estate.
But I guess after this, I guess the internet were like, okay, who are these people? So they decided to do some research and figure out.
Becca Bloom family and Camelot Information Systems investigation paper 2011. Gonna leave this here. If you know a small ounce of finance jargon, it will be an easy and very interesting read. If you don't want to click this link, just search Camelot Information Systems securities fraud and head to the webpage, the fantasy world of Camelot Information Systems. So basically they're defrauding people.
What kind of family she's from. And allegedly, most of the information about Becca's parents has been wiped from the internet. And that's, again, allegedly, due to the fact that the company Becca's dad worked for was hit with multiple lawsuits and investigations for securities fraud and lying to investors. And you know, that's never a good thing. But the company Camelot Information Systems is a holding company that conducts business through its operating subsidiaries in China. And in 2011, a short seller, Spruce Point Capital, issued a report which claimed that management had withheld negative business trends and raised the possibility that fraud had been committed. So, to make a long story very short, they were accused of lying to investors about the value of the company to inflate the stock price. This was never proven though, because the lawsuit was settled. So honestly, we'll probably never know. But it's not a great look, and it definitely doesn't scream billionaire. But then to make things even worse for Becca, all of this attention led to people scrutinizing her clothes and her accessories and accusing her of flexing fakes. So now, people are claiming that she's never actually been as rich as showing her of flexing
to the point where she's been disabling comments. Damn. Well, and the other, like, here's the thing, right? I want to add something quickly, right? Obviously, we don't know what happened, right? And I don't, like, do we know what position her dad was in? Like, because maybe her dad was just working for the company, but he wasn't directly involved with the fraud, right? Like, he just kind of fell in the middle of the situation, right? But we will never know because, you know, it got settled. So, like, there's no public information about what the outcome was or, you know, how involved her father was.
Fakes. So now, people are claiming that she's never actually been as rich as she let on, and instead are alleging that she faked this lifestyle to grow a TikTok account, and now the facade is just completely collapsed. She's had lots of collabs or sponsored posts where she said herself that the company flew her out, or at least supplied the products that she's showcasing.
Come high jewelry shopping with me. Bulgari flew us out to Italy to look at their newly unveiled collection, Polychroma.
So sure, she's flaunting being in Italy with an expensive brand, but I guess that's just because she's an influencer now and not because she's always been a billionaire. And I mean, look, She's obviously had money, and clearly her family does well for themselves, whether it's by questionable practices or not. And not to mention, her husband works in tech. So I mean, hey, there could easily be some money there. I don't think she's getting enough brand deals to put her in mansions and private jets and so on, so that money's external. So no, I don't think she's fake. I just don't think she's a billionaire. And she could have easily been embellishing things to kickstart her career. But I feel like what all of this boils down to is people are just becoming tired of out-of-touch influencers and their extravagant lifestyles, and then them preaching to normal people. Like, wasn't it like Gustavo Fring who like recently was like, some of you guys must die so we can take back our country. And I feel like the rest of the people are like, I don't know about you, dog. I'm good. I'm chilling here. I'm not trying to die. I don't know, guys. We just live in some crazy times. We got a whole lot of people who are out of touch, but at least it's entertaining. So, hey, if you're new here, feel free to subscribe. Drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one, probably tomorrow. And also, I'm up all night.
All right. Anyway, yeah, that's the video. Yeah, it was a good video. It was a very interesting video, right? But again, man, it's just how far off from reality, you know, I mean, rich people are compared to the average, you know, to like normal people, so to speak, right? But yeah, I don't know, it was interesting to look into it. Definitely, you know, I mean, I can't definitively say whether or not her parents were fraudulent or not, because obviously that never got disclosed. So yeah, it was settled, so we don't know how involved her father was, right, with this fraud. But regardless, it's obviously not a good look, right? Especially when you try to preach to people, and you know, you're obviously in a different social, you know, you're especially when you're like financially on like a different planet kind of stuff, right, to the average to the average person, right? So yeah, I don't know, man, like this was crazy. And you know, at the same time, it wasn't anything too wild, right? Like it's been all right. It's been a nice break from all the drama and all the crazy stuff. But yeah, anyway, I've been Antidota. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You know, like I said before, the link to his channel is in the description. Drop him a like, a sub, a comment. You know, if you're new to my channel, drop a like, subscribe, leave a comment, whether you agree or disagree with me. Anything you want to talk to me about or debate with me or whatever, you can let me know down in the comments and I'll reply to you, as long as it's not something, you know, silly. But anyway, with that being said, I shall see you guys next time. Peace.